When is the last time you booked 2 weeks accommodation? A week by the beach at the height of the season? That's pretty pricey. Might set you back $4 or $5 grand, of course, depending where you go. You might pay double that for a couple of weeks in the snow. But how about 300 grand for 2 weeks? 300 grand per person. Well, that's the bill in the end for Queensland's crazy quarantine facility at Wellcamp near Toowoomba. This quarantine camp, built for COVID, cost at least $220 million, and it's only held, over its lifetime, just over 700 people in total. That is more than $300,000 per person for their fortnight in quarantine in Queensland. This is the sort of waste and extravagance you can only get from government. No one would ever be so carefree with their own money. But the Deputy Premier of Queensland doesn't care.
The only regret I have is that we didn't build it sooner. If we'd built it sooner, it would have been available sooner. Queenslanders would have been safer. Throughout the entire pandemic, we took a be prepared approach, and I don't regret anything about that.
Honestly, what a clown. He does not regret spending $220 million on a facility that was never needed, never necessary, and was always going to be a white elephant. Now, you think this is easy to say in hindsight? No, this was obvious from the get-go. Some of you will remember me saying so almost a year ago and then again subsequently. Anastasia Palaszczuk has announced a state government quarantine facility to be built near Toowoomba today. This is on top of a joint federal project in Brisbane, or near Brisbane, and one being built in Victoria as well. Now, is it just me, or is this all a lot of spending on facilities that are likely to become white elephants very, very soon? With vaccinations rolling out not just around Australia but around the world, we should be moving to a testing and vaccination model for international travel within months. And quarantine should be obsolete. This is 90% politics. Labor and the premiers have been trying to spread the blame or pass on the blame to Canberra because of hotel quarantine. They said that Canberra didn't run specialised quarantine facilities. So now they're being built to solve a political problem, not a quarantine problem. I guess they'll be good for school camps or visiting sports teams in years to come. Now, you know I was saying this months ago when everyone was pushing for specialist quarantine facilities. That was always silly. Hotel quarantine did the job. And now with vaccines, it's redundant. And the new quarantine facilities that they're building in Queensland and Victoria, well, they'll just be more wasted taxpayers' money on white elephants. They're all built because a couple of premiers were trying to blame Canberra for their quarantine problems. Yeah, these politicians are so lame, so predictable that we can tell you how they're going to waste your money on stuff that isn't needed before they even realise it themselves. And now, well, now they might as well be using them for school camps or sports teams.
There have been assessments made about whether it would be suitable as a health facility, as a mental health facility, as a drug and alcohol facility, for homeless people, for victims of domestic violence. We'll continue to receive those approaches. We'll continue to assess them, and if any are suitable, the facility will be there for that use.
Look, if he was the chief executive of a company or on the board of a company, you'd be tossed off. You'd lose his job. It's just terrible management. Another example of the appalling overreaction and overspending by all governments during the pandemic. They've just shown a reckless disregard for medium-term implications and the long-term costs, social costs, health costs and financial costs that they've imposed now on young people into the future. And Stephen Miles does not regret a thing. Not only does he seem to be a clown, but he's a clown who refuses to learn from his own mistakes.